Welcome to Podcrushed. You know the deal. I am here with my co-hosts, Nava Kaplan and Sophie and Nava. Our guest today really gave me just a little hit of like a yeah. I really need to get back into the gym because I'm
really
starting my
need to
show.
get back in the gym.
I'm starting my show. No, I mean this is the thing. It's like I have clothes on. It's all fine. You can't tell what's actually going on. But I am now nearing 40. I'm nearing 40. I'm 37. Is that right? Yeah, I'm going to be 38 this year.
Whoa.
I've been thinking to myself, yeah.
Whoa. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I was just thinking about how when we started, I think you were 34. And that's great. I'm like, oh my God, so much time has been passing.
Yeah. I know. When I started the show, I was 30.
Wow.
Is that right? Yeah, I was 30. So anyway, point being, I have been trying on, the clothes for my show where I'm playing Joe Goldberg, fitting into all the old stuff, and I'm like, wow, the pants are very tight. It's really, post-COVID world. I mean, I just wear sweatpants most of the time, or something that's stretchy. Like I wear stretchy stuff. And my goodness, it was hard to get into those pants again. And I've just been thinking like, I have to think a little bit differently. Like I have to be more proactive and have to really dedicate myself to eating differently, which I so don't like doing, but got to do it.
And so your clothes fit tighter, not because you're more buff, but because you've gained weight?
Just to clarify, we just want to make sure it's clear.
I'm not trying to shame you, but
it wasn't that clear.
I was actually thinking the other day on a Zoom, although I can't remember. In Scotland, I didn't register it in person, but I was thinking on a Zoom that you looked more buff. No, I was. I thought maybe you were already hitting the gym.
This is my version of gaining weight. I for a while.
So when Penn gains weight, he looks more buff.
No, this is what I'm saying. When I have clothes on, it's like, oh, he just looks good. And then, but then it's like I try on my old pants, and it's like, well, first of all, I don't think I often realize how skinny I am when I'm skinny.
Yeah.
And what it takes is trying on the old clothes, and I'm like, holy crap.
The clothes really do it. Like this is the same thing has been happening to me postpartum. Like right after I had a baby, I was like, oh, I could easily fit into this thing or this thing.
Why would you think that? You just had a child.
Why would you think that, Sophie?
I think I was so disconnected from my body. Like I was just like, oh yeah. I wasn't even like looking at it, but I was like, yeah, I feel good. So I can definitely fit into that. And then the sad truth when you try to pull
but
those
you
things
it's
off.
not but no hold on here.
No, it's not sad. It's not sad.
I'm going to help us reprogram all of ourselves. It's not sad at all. You just had a baby, you're 30 years old. There's a lot of natural normal things happening.
Yeah.
For myself included, I don't want to shame me or anybody who's got a little, what do you call it? I was going to call it a fat tire, but it's a flat tire. Like a skinny man's flat tire, that kind of thing. What do they call it? Spare tire?
Pouch.
What is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, spare
tire.
tire.
It's the thing right around the midsection.
Well, speaking of fitness.
Well, speaking of fitness, it's not all he's known for, but it is an aspect of his career. We have Joe Manganiello today, an actor and host now. You know him back in the day from shows like True Blood, franchises like Magic Mike. We got Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. That's OG, the original. And also now he's hosting NBC's Deal or No Deal Island. Joe has really an incredible life.
Yeah.
We get right into it in the beginning. He did the entire interview with the sweetest little adopted dog on his lap.
Yeah.
If you haven't already fallen in love with him, you're about to.
I don't think we've ever had a guest where every chapter or season of their life felt like it should be turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Like I just kept thinking, why isn't this a movie yet? It's amazing. You guys are going to love it.
Because he hasn't made it yet. He's in pre-production.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
You're going to love it. Welcome to Podcrushed. We're your hosts. I'm Penn.
I'm Nava.
And I'm Sophie.
And I think we could have been your middle school besties.
Comparing pens. Yeah, I liked comparing pens. That was just a thing I like to do. Okay.
We start in middle school or adolescence. That's why it's called Podcrushed. We take these like sort of formative times of life and then kind of go from there. So it's interesting that you have never had a pet. A lot of people grow up with animals. It's just, kind of like it's a fairly typical American thing. Tell us anything else about 12-year-old Joe. Like where were you? How were you seeing the world?
Gosh, well, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My parents are from Boston, but I was born in Pittsburgh. No one in my family was in the entertainment industry, so I'll say that.
Yeah.
So if we're just giving a snapshot, Coke bottle glasses, ears that stuck out, like kind of fluffy haircut to cover big ears. I was good at sports. And like even from like the first year I ever played a sport, I was always the captain of whatever team.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was always head and shoulders taller than all the kids. Like I stopped growing vertically at like 16.
Wow.
So,
and how tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Oh, wow.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So that was when the kids started catching up, was around that age. But like at 12, 13, I'm a head and shoulders taller than all the other kids. I was a good football player, but I would say that like very skinny upper body, like, so, and I was super, like at that point, 12 years old, I don't think I had a B. I ever got a B in a class up to that point. And I never did my homework. I would ace all the tests, not do my homework. The school wanted me to skip 2 grades.
Wow.
When I was in elementary school. My father wouldn't allow it because of sports. He didn't want me to fall behind or not have that be part of my upbringing.
2 grades is remarkable because I feel like you hear about 1 grade, but 2 grades.
Yeah.
2. Yeah. So I was bored. I go to school, I go to homeroom with the kids my age, and then I dip out and go to classes with all the older kids. So I had like a lot of my friends were just older kids, and I just gravitated towards them. I was also like an avid reader. I would read just compulsively to the point where I was shoplifting comic books in stacks so that I could just read and read and read. I was just a voracious reader.
Wow.
I had to be like told to go outside, like at a certain age because I just wanted to be inside reading.
Yeah.
I painted, I drew, I had action figures. I would just concoct these crazy complex storylines with the figurines and the drawings, and I would read comic books to get ideas and things like that. So I was very much into mythology, dragons, like mythological creatures. I was obsessed with the Loch Ness monster. Like, so I was like a really like nerdy intellectual. I was really good at cards, like crazy. I could count into a deck of cards from the time when I was like a little kid.
Wow.
I would beat the adults. I knew what they had in their hand.
Yeah.
I knew what not to play. My mom took me to an old man when I was 5 years old, and I started chess lessons. And when I was 6, he entered me into a chess tournament. And I placed 3rd. And I remember I was bored in the final game. I just wanted to go home. I was like hungry. I didn't want to play this anymore. And I just stopped concentrating.
Wow.
So, like I was a really interesting kid who had all of these kind of internal interests, but I was also born into a body that was head and shoulders bigger than all the other kids.
Yeah.
And good at sports. So it was like, I was always sort of, you feel like you're being torn between, you have like different sets of friends for different things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the Venn diagram of people who are incredibly naturally gifted at sports and incredibly naturally good at like math and academics and like voracious readers and into mythology. And in the middle, is it just you?
It's just Joe.
Was there anyone else with you in the middle of that sort of?
Like I said, I had friends that were in different groups.
Yeah.
I'd have like, even when I was like 9 years old, like I learned how to like dungeon master or game master tabletop role-playing games where I would just write my own stories and run my friends through them.
Yeah.
Which is a way for me to tell stories and create story and kind of direct to my friends. And so those kids were not on the sports teams.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
But then as you kind of get older, and this is probably older than 12, 13, but like, I ate lunch with the jocks because I was the quarterback of the football team at age 12, 13, in 7th grade. So, I ate with the jocks. I went to, birthday parties with the jocks. And then as we got older, Friday night was like, I'm going to buy beer. You're bringing it over, we're hanging out with the cheerleaders. But then on Saturday, I would go and run games for my gaming friends, or those friends then turned into like film club friends where I started writing my own movies and directing my own movies. And we'd wake up on Saturday and I'd go film with my artistic friends who were like getting into DJing and filmmaking. And, so I had that group, but they was all very separate. All the groups were separate. Sometimes there were a few crossovers, I had like one friend towards the end of high school who was kind of a bad kid and he kept getting sent off to boarding school. But when he would come back, we would like sneak off downtown on the subway and go to like the cool record store and get like, whatever electronic mid-90s records or mixtapes we could find of like Chemical Brothers or Daft Punk before anybody knew who they were. And he was like, yo, it's this band Sublime and I got to get this album, 40 Ounces of Freedom. And like, we were like cool. Like we knew what cool was. We were figuring out what cool was. And we would steal comic books and then pass them back and forth to each other. We would sit on the floor. Oh, did you read that? Okay, cool. Here's Predator versus Alien. Oh, cool. Give me that, Extinction Agenda, X-Men. Cool.
Yeah.
So I did have a friend. I had a partner in crime, but then he didn't graduate high school and he got in trouble and that was it.
Aww.
So it's like he kind of got set off over here.
It sounds like your youth, you experienced it as very rich. Is that true?
My youth experience?
Yeah, well, it just sounds like it's varied, it's rich. We all grow up, we all have plenty of sorrows and difficulties and awkwardness growing up, which we do want to get into, definitely, if you're willing. But I think it's interesting to hear you reflect because it sounds rich. It sounds like you also experienced it richly, like you were appreciating it at the time, or do you really only feel that in retrospect? Do you know what I mean?
No, I definitely think, at the time, and I'll say this, my dad grew up in a neighborhood that was, I would say rough around the edges, rich in a certain way, but his goal was to, once he started having children, was to move me into a neighborhood where the same trouble that was available, say, to him or his friends or the kids he grew up with who were all like in big time trouble, like was not available. Yeah. And, he got offered a job in Pittsburgh. And so he and my mom moved there. And then he moved us into this like top 5 in the nation school district. And I went to this unbelievable high school, the kind of the pathway was to this unbelievable high school that had every amenity on the planet. It was the kind of suburban upbringing where, my mom could leave the keys in her car at night.
Wow.
We could leave the front door open. Nothing ever happened. There was no crime. And it was Stranger Things. Kids on bikes, leave in the morning. You go out all day long. When the sun starts going down, it's time to go home to have dinner, or you need to call your mom because you're going to have dinner at your friend's house and you ride your bike home in the dark and be safe. Yeah. But it was like, we were just out all day, doing things, figuring things out, playing, playing pickup over here or shoplifting comic books over there, whatever it was, Yeah. So there was so much time and like safety for kids to kind of figure out what your interests were, which is like I really benefited from because I wasn't the kind of actor who was pushed into ballet class at age 5. Like a lot of the drama kids that I went to drama school with, they were in it to win it they went to performing arts high schools. I wasn't. I was a really well-rounded kind of suburban kid who went to this like really amazing high school with all these amenities, who then like also had a TV studio there. So kind of like I say late in life, like 16 years old, I started making my own movies. And I was like kind of the last actor to jump in the boat that was, the Carnegie Mellon School of Drama. Like I probably picked up acting the latest out of anyone to get into that school. And I think I really benefited from it because I had a lot of time to develop in other ways.
That's incredible.
But to answer your question, I really know. I knew it at the time, man. I mean, gosh, more so now, but like, no, I really, I was, as much as I could, I was trying to create my own curriculum.
Joe, I'm so intrigued by this little tidbit you told us about your mom, that she took you to this old man, even the way you told it. She took you to an old man who taught you how to play chess. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your parents and what was your home life like?
Well, mom was cognizant of the artist that I was. Being an artist is sometimes you have people looking over your shoulder or raising you who I've heard of it. I've heard of people who have, parents who are artists and they grow up in an artistic household, and all of that is very much encouraged and or at least seen as a potential vocation or an honorable profession. But I think for most of the world, I think that's seen as like a real negative.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like you're too sensitive, you need to toughen up, all of those things that like you would hear growing up as a male during that era, and really it's you see it as the negative, I think, or at least that gets baked into you as a negative.
Yeah.
And I think then life or your growing up becomes a way of learning how to protect that artist inside of you, while also, like the way that I have this dog sleeping on my leg. She feels safe enough that she can go and just nap out and close her eyes. This little tiny thing that would have like every natural predator in the entire world is going to, like, I had to become this in order to protect the artist that was inside of me, that kid, that's to not take it personally, to be, and part of that I think was physical. I think there was a part of me that wanted to like create this armor in order to protect I don't want to say inner child, because that's a little too, that's kind of like a little too far for me to go, but I mean,
but it's probably true.
yeah, exactly. To kind of to protect so that I could be comfortable enough to create.
Of course, yeah.
And so I think a lot of my creating was done like kind of off the radar, or like I'm supposed to be up there doing my homework, but I'm writing stories and I'm drawing.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe your mother saw that, which I think, by the way, is often quite common. It was like sort of my case.
She would take me to art classes and things like that. Art classes, I wanted to learn how to play piano. I did. I stopped playing piano when football happened because I didn't have time after school anymore, and so there was, but yeah, she was always taking me to art class or sign me up for chess or, whatever, all those things, that were going to, taking me to children's theater, I think, like puppet theater with like The Hobbit, where there was like a dragon on stage. And I love that.
Oh, puppets are actually really amazing. The mastery that it takes to make a real puppet is so cool. So wait, so then your dad, it sounds like sports and maybe academics were his focus, or just sports for you?
Yeah, I think my dad really, I was, like I said, head and shoulders bigger than the other kids, which is such
a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes from my mom's side. My mom is Croatian and German, and they're giant.
Is she taller than your dad?
No, she is 5'9". Dad is 5'11", but I'm 6'5". My brother's 6'7".
Whoa.
We're both athletes, and my mother is was a physical specimen. Like, she would train in the gym every day. Like, she lifted weights. Like, when Madonna was buff, like my mom for a period of time, like was like that. Like she, and in the ballroom dancing, even still to this day, she's like super athletic. So very disciplined in that way. So and ate like nothing but organic food from like the 70s. Which was like really rare. I don't know where she was getting it, but my brother and I didn't know what candy was until like we were a little bit older. So like it was just, but my dad was very much like, saw that I had physical gifts in that way, and was like, well, naturally, like that's a clear path. You're going to be the captain of everything. Then you're going to go off to college, and then you're going to be, I don't know, Don Draper in Mad Men. You know what I mean? Like, that's the path.
And you were like, no, Dad, I'm going to play Don Draper in Mad Men. You don't understand.
No, I'm going to be a werewolf on that weird show on HBO. That's what it was.
So, Joe, what helped you sort of at 16? You're like the last actor to get on the Carnegie Mellon boat. Why did you get on it? Like, what happened that sort of encouraged you to switch paths?
I just knew. I don't know what. I knew I knew inside that I was an artist. I knew I was going to be an artist. I was positioning myself to go into federal law enforcement and play college basketball.
Okay.
Wow.
But I just knew I have to do something artistic, or else that part of me is the most important part. And I could never be fulfilled at any job unless I was doing that. And at that time, like I said, I was making my own movies. And my friends who I was casting in my movies and directing in my movies, they would all say to me, like, you should act, like, you should do this. Like, you should try for a play or something. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And but my senior year, I signed up for freshman acting. And so I was this big 3-sport jock captain, Letterman jacket wearing, big senior who showed up with these little freshman acting kids in the 9th grade acting class.
Wow.
You have to take 9th grade acting first. And, and the teacher pulled me aside after the class and said, what are you doing here? Like, what are you just trying to blow off your senior year and get an easy A? Like, and I said, no, I think I can do this.
Wow.
Like, what do you mean do this? And I was like, no, I think I could do this for a living. Like, at least I think I could be on a soap opera. Like, I think, Melrose Place or something, I just was like, I think I can do it. And she was like, okay. And then the next week she asked me to try out for the musical. Wow. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I have to sing and dance. She's like, just sing Happy Birthday. Just come, please, just try out, please. And I was like, all right. So I went and I had to perform scenes from Oklahoma. So that was the play. Yeah. And so she gave me scenes for the I guess the villain, quote unquote, Judd. And I took it seriously. And sang Happy Birthday. They had to see how I moved, but I was an athlete, so I moved pretty well. And I just forgot all about it. And then months later, I was walking down the hall, and somebody, multiple kids were like, "Hey Joe, great job! Hey Joe, congratulations!" And they weren't like anyone in my social circle.
Yeah.
Like, who are these people? Like, who are these people? They go to this high school too? Like, I've never seen that person in my life. Like, who? Like, congratulations! Like, about what? And I'm like, oh shit. Oh no, the play. Oh my God. So I went down to the theater department and looked on the on the bulletin board, and I was like, oh my God, I got cast in I got the villain. I'm one of the leads in the play. Oh no. I'm the 4-year starter on the volleyball team. I started as a freshman. I made the junior Olympic team when I was 16. There were colleges looking at me. I'm the captain. This is my spring sport. Oh man.
Was it like a time?
Am I going down this road, or am I dropping out and I'm going to go down that road?
Oh, so it was a big choice.
And I said, the hell with it. Let's go.
Finding a good doctor is stressful, right? Specialists, dentists, even a good GP can be hard to pin down. And then there's the whole song and dance of finding someone who takes your insurance. That is why ZocDoc is here to make things a million times easier on all of us. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you and instantly book appointments with them online. It's just this really intuitive, smart platform that I think we should have all started using years ago. I love the patient reviews in particular. I honestly could spend hours scrolling through them. It makes it so much easier for me to book someone knowing they were exactly what I'm looking for. Don't let the hassle of finding a doctor keep you from getting the care you need. On ZocDoc, you can filter specially for those who take your insurance, are located near you, and can treat whatever condition you're looking to manage. It's like having a personal health concierge in your pocket. We use ZocDoc all the time, and we know you will love it too. Go to ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed, ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed.
I started taking Symbiotica because I had noticed my sleep had taken a bit of a turn, which is not unexpected for a new parent, but it's less than ideal. But since taking their product, I've noticed that my energy levels have been better, and I'm not hitting that afternoon slump like I was before. Symbiotica is formulated with the highest quality ingredients out there, and Symbiotica is transparent about how and where they source their ingredients to ensure that you get the best products possible, which I love. Their formulas don't have any seed oils, preservatives, toxins, artificial additives, or natural flavors, which is pretty awesome because they are some of the tastiest supplements that I've tried. I have been taking their liposomal vitamin C, which promotes collagen production and boosts immunity. I've also been taking one called Golden Mind, which is really tasty. It's a vanilla chai flavor. You can take it with whatever drink you like to have in the morning or whenever, but I just knock it back. I just take it straight from the pouch, and it's tasty even like that. Feel more energized, alert, and balanced with high quality supplements that work. Head over to symbiotica.com and use code PODCRUSHED for 20% off plus free shipping on your subscription order.
The stakes sound really high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it does feel like you were making a clear choice. Remind me, how old were you? You said 16, 17?
At that point, I would have been 18.
Yeah.
That would have been
18, right? You were a senior. Okay.
Senior year, second semester, senior year. I'm going to do my first
so this
play.
is really late.
Joe, are you familiar with the premise of the High School Musical series? You are Troy Bolton. This is his story. It's amazing. I'm also just trying. Yeah, I'm trying to picture you as the scene partner of a little freshman girl. Like, were they just like fainting? Like, how? I can't even imagine if you're like a freshman girl and like senior Joe, like super tall athlete, is your scene partner. They must have been dying.
Yeah, it was a trip, you know, and yeah, we did the musical, and it was funny after and it's the High School Musical, okay, but we did it in an auditorium with 1,200 people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Then afterwards, I would have to come out, and there would be all these like little girls at the front of the stage, and they want me to like sign their program. Like, come on, it was the trip.
Yeah,
it was the trip.
And how did your dad react?
Well, I'll say first off, I dropped out of AP Physics because I was like, I'm never going to use this.
Yeah,
I don't need it. I was like, I understand it all, but I don't okay, let's get off the math path. And I then only applied to one school, which was Carnegie Mellon, the Carnegie Mellon School of Drama. I didn't apply anywhere else. I only applied to that one school, which is crazy because at the time, in those days, there were like 1,000 kids from around the world that were trying out for Juilliard, Carnegie Mellon, North Carolina School for the Arts. You know, they just kind of, I think like NYU Tisch, like specifically that school. And again, there's all these kids who've been acting forever, who've been doing theater productions their whole life. And I've done one play and I'm like, I'm going to go there.
Did you feel confident enough that you were like, I'm going to get in? Or was it like the only place that you wanted to go? Or did
No, I mean, it's so hard to get in there. I mean, at the time, that was the #1 drama school in the country. Like, if you go back to all the ratings, like it was beating Juilliard consistently because of the kids coming out that were working professionally. So it was like, it just had like this crazy alumni and the faculty was unbelievable. And it was like, you're not getting in. Like, there's no way. But I was insane. Looking back, it's just like, I don't know what the hell was wrong with it. So I try out. For Carnegie Mellon, I have to do a classical monologue and a contemporary monologue. You have to audition to get in. It doesn't really have to do with your grades or SATs, you know, and you have to audition. You got to get in, and I didn't get in. You know, I did not get accepted into Carnegie Mellon, but I knew like I hadn't done it long enough. Like I had, there's gas in the tank here, and I don't know what I can do yet. And I'm not ready to give this up yet. So I late applied to the University of Pittsburgh, which was like $460 a semester or something, you know, at the state school. And it was across the street from Carnegie Mellon.
Wow.
So here's where the plan hatches. I'm going to spend the next year just diligently hardcore auditioning for everything that I can. Like, I'm just going to give this my absolute 100% all, like myopically focused. Like, I'm not taking any liberal arts classes at Pitt. I'm just taking all theater classes. That's it. Like, we're just all in. I'm going to audition for everything in the paper. I'm going to audition for everything at the school. I'm like everything, like just go. And that was my plan. I'm going to work on 2 more monologues. I'm going to get a better headshot. I'm going to build a resume, and I'm going to come in there a year later and see what I can do. And that's exactly what I did. It was like, there was no straying from the path. I worked on monologues with the kids down the hall from me at the dorm at Pitt. I go, okay, you guys ready? Okay, hold on. And I go out in the hallway and kind of bust in, do my monologue and go, what do you guys think? You know, I was like testing these pieces on a little live bot. They would fit in the bunk, like all of them. There would be like 10 people in bunks, and I would perform. I come back out. I took like hair and makeup classes. I took voice and speech. I would drive 3 buses to go do 1 line in someone's student film. Like, I didn't care, like whatever. And I started getting cast in graduate productions. The graduate students had come to Pitt to try to be casted, and I started getting cast in them. The directors were casting me. And they got pissed off. So it was like they were complaining that, like, who's this kid? He's not supposed to, you know. And then the year went by, and one snowy day, I crossed the street from Pitt to Carnegie Mellon. And I lined up in the auditorium with all the other kids from around the world who were there to try out. And I tried out again. And I had a friend of mine, Zach Quinto, who I had known in high school. He was at Carnegie Mellon, and he was one of the runners, because you have to audition for one of the professors, and then they write notes. You do your 2 monologues, they write notes, put it in the envelope, hand it to the kid who's running, and that kid then hands it to the next person that you're going to audition for, the head of the department. They handed them the envelope, and then, I had to audition again for the head of the department, and then the head of the department started talking to me. I was like, oh, wow. This is like, when they talk to you, it means that they care. They've got to get through all these other people. He talked to me for a while. And I left, and Zach Quinto was like, wow, you're in there for a while. And I'm like, yeah. I go, what does that mean? And he goes, hold on. He pulls out the notes, and he's like, they want you to audition for the third person. They want you to go see the third teacher. The only time that happens is when they want somebody at the school. Wow. They want to make sure that they want to say, take a look at this kid, I want him. And he looked, and so I was like, okay, so I need to stay? He's like, yeah, you're going to do it one more time. I went, okay. So I went in and did it for the third professor. He talked to me again. He just sat on top of the piano and was like, so let's talk. I was like, okay. I came out. Zach got the envelope. He goes, hold on. Opens it up and goes, he goes, I'll see you in August.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Zach.
Yeah. That is incredible. I also feel like it says so much about your resolve, because especially before social media, I feel like there's so much in our culture telling kids like you can't really be an actor, like it's too hard, the pool is so small, which is true. Yeah, which is true, but I feel like it already takes so much resolve to even get to that point where you're auditioning for one of the best schools in the country, and then on top of that to get rejected, and then just be like, to double down and like, no, it's happening. It says so much about you. It's really cool.
Well, I think maybe that's the sports mentality, is like, you fail, you get your ass kicked, you get back up. And like, you're not done yet. Like you're not done. Did you do everything you possibly could? And, here's the thing, regardless of what my dad ever thought about my choice of vocation coming out of the gate, what I did learn from him was discipline. So, I kind of got that understanding from my mom, and that kind of like, unconditional, like, I'm going to support whatever it is that you want to do. And from my dad, I got discipline. And if you're going to do something, then you have to do the best. You have to be the best at it, or at least the best that you can be. And if you can, with you give all the talent, all the talent in the world is going to lose out to somebody who's so hungry and wants it. And on that day, that's what happened. Now, I didn't know if I had any talent or not. I mean, people were certainly saying that I did, but that's not for me to judge. All I had to do was just work as hard as I could and give myself like a full opportunity. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, that's the trick, is people don't give themselves a full opportunity. They do it half-assed, and then when they get the no, it just confirms everything they thought about themselves.
It's totally true.
And you have to be like, I was willing to fall flat on my face. I didn't apply anywhere else. Like, there was no plan B. Like, God knows what I would have done. The guidance counselor at Pitt was like, called me into his office and was like, I noticed you're taking all theater classes as a freshman. You're going to be done. Like, you're going to be taking math, science, and history for the rest of your time here. And I said, I'm not going to be here past this year. He was like, what? He's like, who are you? And I was like,
I'm Joe Manganiello.
I just was so crazy. I never had a plan B. And I think that was probably the best thing that I had going for me. But also, again, like, I had learned, it's okay if you fail. Like, it's okay, but did you try your best? And I couldn't. I had restless nights that whole year until I tried it again.
I think that's a really good practical thing that people can take away, is just just asking yourself the question, did I do everything I could possibly do?
Everything.
So one thing that we actually do here a lot is we talk about, we always like ask every guest, is there an awkward story you have from those middle school or high school years? And then also like first love, first heartbreak kind of stuff, the awkwardness. Most people come in here with like a really rich vein of like super awkward stories, except for we've only had one guest really. Ed Spaliers will go down in history as the one who didn't have any awkward stories. But so
I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, we did discover there was something. But I mean, so was there a point where you were racked with insecurity and you had to, I don't know, like just overcome it?
Yeah. So, in 5th grade, I was the captain of the basketball team. I was like the leading scorer, leading rebound. And I thought going into 6th grade, well, it's just going to continue. And in 6th grade, I had a horrible start to the year. I was terrible. I was missing every shot I took, easy little buddies under the hoop in basketball. Like I just was. And so the coach, in conjunction with my father, they slapped my ass on the bench and they benched me. So this big head and shoulders taller than all the other kids was sitting there on the bench, and some other kid who was younger than me, grade below, got to start over me when I was Mr. Big MVP of the year before.
Yeah.
And, they started holding me after school, after practice for like an hour to shoot 100 shots right hand, 100 shots left hand,
Wow.
100 that, run it, like drilling me. And I hated it. And, looking back now, I didn't know it then, but it was like my ego just got smashed. And you get frustrated. You want to punch something. You feel like you're going to cry and put your fist through the window on the drive home. I was mad at my dad. I was mad at the coach. And what happened was whatever was wrong with me worked itself out. And I started playing better. And then obviously, they put me back into the starting lineup because what we can do? And then the end of that year, we won a tournament. Like we played against all the big townships. The township I lived in, we played against all the public school kids, and we're this little Catholic school. There's like 9 kids on the team, and and we beat the crap out of all the public school teams. It was, wow. I mean, it sounds stupid because it's like 6th grade, but it was like, it was a huge deal for us to beat them. And it had to do with me realizing that if I was going to be good at something, I couldn't just coast. I couldn't just coast on how tall I was. I couldn't just coast on some sort of perceived gift that I was given and not develop that. It had to be the gift plus the work. And so that was, and then they gave me, most improved player of the year, which is like, I won MVP, goddammit, but it was one of those things where, you realize you got to put in the work. And
so you had your midlife crisis in 6th grade, basically. You had this like really condensed arc.
but you can see that like the seeds were planted and that lesson was learned, so that when I got to high school, when I got to 9th grade, again, by 9th grade, I knew how to work. I knew, and I had a great work ethic, and I worked harder than all the other kids. And that's why I was always the captain, I was there early, left late, worked hard, led the kids, good example. And I was the leading scorer, leading rebounder. And the coaches put on notes. They gave you kind of like an exit interview with your notes of what you could work on. I was like, what are they going to say? I did everything, come on. And it was like lax upper body strength. I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
And then the football team started making, we were training as football players, and we had to do a pull-up test and a dip test. You had to get up. Everybody lined the hallway, and everybody one by one had to get up and do as many dips as they could, as many pull-ups as they could. I'm the captain of the team. Got this. Great. Couldn't do one of each.
So they were right.
And I was furious and embarrassed and, again, like failure. And so that began a lifelong quest. I then found there was a high school history teacher at the high school who the rumor was he used to train bodybuilders in the 1970s. And so I approached him and said, hey, kind of like Daniel LaRusso asking Mr. Miyagi, in the Karate Kid to train him. And I was like, I heard you train bodybuilders. Like, I want you to train me. And he was like, what? And I was like, who told you that? And I was like, is it true? Because I heard, and he's like, and he just kept blowing me off.
Yeah.
And then finally he agreed to let me, he said, come over on Monday night at 7:30 or whatever. So I went over there all dressed to work out, and he just sat me down in a chair and for an hour and a half lectured me on how the body works. He had all these anatomy books out. This is what happens when you train. This is how you damage the muscles. Scar tissue rebuilds it. That's how you get stronger. You need to change your diet. You need to eat protein in order to build muscle. You need to do this. You need to do that. It was just like this seminar. And I'm just looking at the clock going, when are we going to lift, man? And at the end of this hour and a half long seminar, he was like, all right, we're done. And I was like, what happens now? And he's like, I'm not going to teach somebody all of this stuff that I know unless I know that they're fully in. I'm not going to waste my time. They'll waste my time. It's like, I'm not going to waste your time. He's like, will you do every single thing that I tell you to do? No questions that. And I said, all right. Yes. Okay. Show up here on Wednesday at 7:30 and we'll start.
Wow.
It really is like the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
And he trained me for years. And then he trained me through college.
Wow.
He trained me when I was getting ready to come to LA after Carnegie Mellon. Like he was this really strong, positive, male figure for me.
That's awesome.
And I worked so hard for that guy.
Yeah.
I just wanted that, like, great job. You did great. Back in the day, I think parents and coaches and parents and teachers used to really, really work together in terms of, you're allowed to yell at my kid. You're allowed to reprimand my kid when he's doing something wrong. You're allowed to help contribute to my kid growing, rather than, I think, from what I understand, there's a lot of like kind of the reverse of that, which is parents saying to teachers, you're not allowed to talk to my kid that way. You're not allowed to, the teachers and coaches used to help to raise the kids as well.
It was like smaller community based, I think. It was just
it's just
world.
everybody was kind of in it, and they were like, what does the kid need? And the kid could be amazing, and we need to unlock his potential,
We definitely want to talk about your career, but I think our listeners would be very upset if we didn't ask you the classic question about your first love and your first heartbreak, if you're willing to share.
Oh boy. First love, boy. I mean, there was like a first girlfriend in 6th grade, which is like first kiss, first kiss, 6th grade. But that was it. I was deemed by my parents too young to go to the movies with her on a date. So that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. And so when that happened, she broke up with me.
Aww.
Because it's like, well, you can't go out with us. It's like, well, no, I'm not allowed. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess, but that was first kiss.
Did that make you feel any type of way towards your parents? Like, were you upset with them?
Yeah,
or?
Of course. No, of course. Yeah, of course I was like,
were you really invested? Because sometimes at that age, you feel your feelings are bigger than you, and you kind of feel like this is the first and last and only time you're ever going to feel it. Did you have that kind of epic sort of investment in it, or were you like, well, this is just happening?
No, I think with me, I mean, the Coke bottle glasses, the ears that stuck out, the skinny physique, I just knew someday this is all going to get fixed. And there's going to be a better life for you, and it's not right now. And even in high school, it's like you're going to get out of this place. You're going to get to reinvent yourself and start over. And those girls who looked at you like you were this like Coke bottle glasses wearing nerd, they're going to see you as something different. And so I was always like, I also was like the oldest soul you were ever going to meet packed into a 12-year-old's body. So it was like I'm like I was like an 80-year-old man when I was born. So it was like, I just need to get out of here and go hang out with some adults. So I didn't really take it that way. I mean, it was more like embarrassment over the fact that like some of the other kids were allowed to go to the movies with the girl. And it was like, I was deemed, I wasn't ready yet. So I think it was more along maybe like embarrassment. But it just was like, we're gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay. I wasn't like, you're gonna be okay, kid, but I was like, listen, we're gonna table this for now. We're gonna get back to it later.
Yeah. Let's talk about your career.
I mean, so as far as I can tell, coming out of Carnegie, what then happened? Did you go to LA?
Yeah, the whole plan was to go to LA from the time that I even auditioned there. I wanted to become a smart actor who was studied, again, doing it the right way, discipline. I wanted to have an education as an actor, be a really smart actor, the way that people people that I looked up to at that time were Edward Norton, went to Yale. You know, you have Gary Oldman. You know, it's that era. So you have like a lot of the actors that came out of the actor studio in the 70s into the 80s, the De Niros, the Pacinos, the great Italians.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I want to be like them, so I'm going to go get an education in classical theater and do this right. And but also with the intent of like starring in Fight Club with David Fincher. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to be like the guy who could do all of the popcorn movie stuff, but intelligently. And so Carnegie Mellon, for the kids that make it through all 4 years of the program, you get to perform in these showcases. And the showcases are then, it's like the NFL combine. Like every manager, agent, casting director, they all come at the time. They would all come to see all the kids from Juilliard, Carnegie, Tisch.
Yeah.
Carolina. They will come to see them because they were going to then start signing them, sending them out. And out of those, I got my choice of agent, my choice of manager. I got offered like a 6-figure TV holding deal by Warner Brothers TV. They wanted to start developing shows around me.
Wow.
And at the time, this was 2000, it's different than it is now. There was a stigma. Like there was a line, like you had to choose TV or film.
Oh,
you
definitely.
did one or the other, that was it. And nobody did American commercials. That was, you know, it was just very, very separate. Nobody was hosting game shows, like that's for sure. You know, but it's all different now.
Yeah.
But at the time you had to choose. And I said no to that TV holding deal. And I said, no, I'm going to do film. And that week I was brought into audition for the role of Peter Parker in Spider-Man, which I was never going to get because I'm completely wrong for it. But the casting director really loved me and wanted me to, she said, you know, you're really great as Peter Parker, but you're never going to get this role. And I said, right. And she said, but there's this other role that's right for you. And I said, oh, Flash. And she said, right, Flash. And I go, great. And I had wearing glasses for my Peter Parker audition. I took them off. And I had a button down. I unbuttoned the button down, had a tank top on.
And they were like, holy shit! Where did this man come from?
And she's like fishing around. She goes, hold on, let me go get the sides. Let me go get the script sides for you to read. And I go, I'm already off book.
Wow.
What? And I go, I was hoping you were going to say this, and I'm ready.
Wow.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we did the scene a couple times, and she was like, she just sat there and looked at me and said, okay, I want you to meet Sam Raimi. How long are you in town? And I said,
You're
how
like,
long
I've
do you want
moved here. I'm changing my life. I'm here.
Yeah.
I was like, because I was there for the showcases. So I'm like driving a rental car around, sleeping on somebody's couch. And I'm like, how long do you need me here? And she's like, what's a good number to call you? You know, and she wound up going out. She got me $500 to screen test all of the Spider-Man candidates who were screen testing for the role of Peter Parker. I got to do a scene with them as Flash in front of Sam Raimi on a soundstage with hair, makeup, costume, film, full crew for the entire day. And Sam got to see me work.
And how did you feel that day? Were you just like thrilled? Were you nervous? What was sort of?
Oh, I was like, we got to go to work. Let's go.
Focus.
Like, this is like, let's do this. Let's like, we're in the scene. Like, because, you know, I mean, I've got, you know, what's my resume? A bunch of like college theater projects. I'm on this, like, what's going to be the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm testing with like James Franco, who I had just seen, who just won the Golden Globe for James Dean.
Wow.
Right.
You know, like was he, or no, maybe he was shooting it. He hadn't won it yet. He was shooting it. So he looked like James Dean. That's right. And like Scott Speedman, I knew who he was, you know, so I'm like, and I'm just like, let's go. Let's get in there. Let's get it, you know? And Sam took a liking to me, and eventually I got cast. Eventually. There was a lot of bumps in that road, but I wound up getting cast.
Wow. And that was your first movie, was like the MCU sort of like has changed the industry. Wow.
Before the MCU. This was like,
no, it's definitely before. I mean, did you have a sense then of what? Because I mean, I recall seeing that Spider-Man in theaters. I'm a little bit younger than you. I was like, you know, I was definitely at the age where it just was like, oh, you could feel this shift that something was happening in the, you know, the modern movie-going mythology. It was like there's something big happening that this is being done this way. Did you feel that then, and could you feel it on set that you know what I mean? Because it wasn't the MCU hadn't been established, but it was still Marvel, and it was like, this is huge.
Well, listen, they had John Dykstra on set who did all the effects for Star Wars. Like, you knew this wasn't going to be like some Roger Corman movie. You know what I mean? Like, this was the real deal, and they were putting, hundreds of millions of dollars into this thing. And Sam Raimi is unbelievable, but also, like you said, like, there was a shift, because up to that point, you have to understand that there wasn't a superhero boom. Superhero movies only were done when unbelievable creative artists came in and had some sort of angle.
Right.
So you have, to that point, it
was basically Batman, right? I'm trying to think of the other ones.
You have Tim Burton's Batman, which then kind of turned into the Joel Schumacher, but like, let's just stick with Tim Burton's Batmans. You have The Crow. Right.
Okay.
Again, dark, black leather. Then you have Blade. Dark.
They were much more
leather.
niche.
Yep. Spawn. Dark, black leather.
Right.
You have X-Men 1. Dark, black leather. Like, like there was nothing colorful. So the fact that they were going to go with the Green Goblin in his green suit, and they were going to have the red and blue bright Spider-Man costume, and then it was going to take place in high school, and really be about like puberty, and all of those changes, and being a nerd and falling in love, so it was a complete departure.
Wow. That's so cool.
So then, you had made a decision, no television, you're going to do movies, but then you end up on True Blood. Sort of, what is the transition? And was there a telenovela translated into English also in the mix, American Heiress? Something?
Yeah, at one point, yeah. But, the thing about, by the time True Blood came along, you're talking about the golden era of cable. So
HBO. Was it HBO? I'm sorry. Is it?
Yeah,
it was HBO. It was so... the thing I will say is that in 2000, when I got out of drama school and I said no to TV, there was one season of The Sopranos that had come out. So there was this rumbling about this show that was long form narrative that was like as good as any movie. And you were starting to hear rumblings of that, but it hadn't caught on. But then by the time True Blood comes along, you've had Deadwood, Rome, The Wire, Sex and the City. You had like Carnival, like unbelievable.
HBO was truly in a different league. It really was. Carnival, by the way, is an underrated, unsung. That is one of my favorite television, actually just cinematic experiences ever. And then you also had Band of Brothers. Favorites. So like this is an era where HBO was starting to do what streamers are now doing, but like 2 decades before. They were just basically making season-long films, and they were doing it in a very special way.
And they were making it better. They were like, those shows were better than what was going on in film at the time.
Yeah.
So and also they were so smart in that they understood to hire a great showrunner, and then get out of the way and don't note that person to death, and just let their creative vision wind up on screen. And so you get 6 Feet Under, like with no notes. You get Rome. You get The Wire, and then of course you get True Blood, and there were no notes coming from the network on True Blood.
Wow.
It was what you see was what you got, and what you got was this really wild, crazy, intelligent project, and one that I think resonated and started all sorts of like social conversations that kind of pushed the culture forward. Like, marriage equality was not on the table prior to True Blood's conversation about it. So they used vampires as this kind of Trojan horse into this conversation about equality and racism in the South.
Wow.
Because it's vampires. So we can talk about it as much as we want. And it really allowed, I think, the culture to go further at that time. So it was a really important show. And we all were treated like rock stars, obviously, because, the nature of the show. I mean, people were watching us do insane things to each other, on that show.
Yeah, I can imagine that if there were notes from HBO, they're like, well, they're already naked, so no, we're good. Okay, you got it.
We're good. Yeah, but what's funny about True Blood was, we were all really, really overqualified. Well, I should say the material was deceptively tricky because it was kind of like written in like Tennessee Williams. It was very operatic at times.
Yeah, very,
But but it's all theater kids. It's like people with Tonys and Oscars, and Mike McMillan and I were the Carnegie Mellon kids. Then there was Ratina and Nelson were the Juilliard kids. Then Chris Bauer was the Yaley. Then you get West End of London. Then you get this international cast. You got Skarsgård from Sweden. You had Moyer from England. So you had and Anna obviously from Canada by way of New Zealand by way of Canada. So it was just like I said, it was really, really intelligent, trained actors, trained the way that I was. It was like my whole plan worked in that moment.
Joe, tell us about sort of, you're directing now, you're hosting a game show, you're in a movie with Vince Vaughn, sort of what's happening now? What are you excited about? Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited about all those things, I love shooting Deal or No Deal Island.
Yeah, tell us about that. You're
Sounds
doing that
fun.
in the jungle. I heard that you're killing all the scorpions and spiders that are coming after people. Is this true?
Yeah, I was pest control on the island.
Yeah.
So it was jump, and then there's some kind of giant jungle creature coming out that I have to go take out. But also anybody who watched this last episode this week, there was a big, huge screaming match that was kind of edited down from its 20-minute length.
Wow.
But a giant, 150-foot, 300-year-old jungle tree crashes to the ground in the middle of the screaming match. So you're kind of that's some jungle shit right there.
Yeah.
There's some sort of, Mother Earth, we are all one, that was hey, everybody shut up and stop screaming. Wow. And so I was kind of nervous to kill some of these animals because they're not little tiny ants and things like that. It's like a spider that big, or that big moving across the floor.
Oh my
You've
gosh.
got big scorpions crawling out of your shoes, and big, huge jungle bee flies into my
that's
shoes.
a lot. That's a lot.
I've got to take them all out. I got bit by a fire ant in the abdomen while we were shooting actually episode 3. I got bit and it felt like somebody shot me with something.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
And then they were all over me. And so yeah, I was pest control, but I also had to have talks with the jungle gods while I was doing all of this extermination. I was because I had to beg for forgiveness because I can't let this giant spider crawl towards Bubbles, my little dog, while she's in her playpen.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm a dad. I'm a dog dad. I'm a chihuahua dad. I can't let this happen. I have to I'm sorry, but your spider is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I cannot let it get near my little dog. God forbid. So I'm going to take this life, and I hope that you forgive me for that. So I was having all these conversations while I was killing everything that I could find.
Wow. What did you love the most about being in the jungle?
What I love most about being, working with the people that I got to work with. And I know that sounds cheesy, but I got to work with the geniuses of the reality competition style docu-series world. The creator of Fear Factor, Matt Kunitz, our showrunner, Sarah Happel Jackson, who who's head of the story team for Big Brother for years. The whole crew was Survivor's crew that was up from Australia.
Wow.
Everybody knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
and it was just
really
so
cool.
great to be amongst people who were so obsessed with this weird thing that I was also obsessed with, the show. And we just got to bubble up for, 3.5 weeks and just nothing but story.
Yeah.
Eat, breathe, sleep, who hates who's doing what, where are we putting the cameras, what's up next, how do I tee this up, great, okay, great, you're over there, I'm over here, great. It was just, I love that level of immersion. And, like I said, with smart people who are that obsessed.
Yeah.
What's your favorite game show other than Deal or No Deal?
I mean, I watched almost every episode of Survivor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a tall order because there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, when I'm on set somewhere, and I'm spending 4.5 months shooting an AMC series in Ireland, or I'm over here for 2 months in New Jersey shooting this thing. Any free time that I have, I keep, it's me, the dog, in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And then I'll just, come back from a hard day of work, go to the gym, come back, kick my feet up and brush my teeth and watching Survivor.
Yeah.
And I'll just crank through episodes until I fall asleep. Or, I'm hanging out in my trailer, I'm waiting around. Yeah, it's great. On my phone, I can just put on that episode of Survivor.
Yeah.
I love that.
Joe, someone should do Celebrity Survivor and you'll win it. Be like,
Clearly.
I have a plan. You know, I really, I've thought it through.
yeah.
So you're not going to pitch us yet.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
get it. It's clearly
protect
going to
I can
happen.
tell you what it
Here-
is. I mean, the thing
Tell us,
about
tell
it
us.
is
Just tell us the release date and we'll
Yeah.
wait for it.
when
Basically,
you're my size and athletic, there's only one way you can win. You have to help them get food,
by force.
all the challenges, so we can get all the snorkeling gear. Like you have to be
Yeah.
you're your tribe. They're not going to cut you. They want you around so they can beat the other team and get amenities.
Yeah.
But once the merge happens, they're going to want to get rid of you. So you
Yeah.
have to win immunity. You just have to win out the
Mm.
whole way. And I was talking to Tiger Woods's. So Survivor wanted me on the show years ago. I'll just say that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's like,
They wanted me on the show.
yeah.
And I talked to Tiger Woods' eye doctor. And I was going to get corrective eye surgery so that I didn't have to wear contacts. They give you a solution on the show, but I didn't care. And then I met a yogi who was going to get me off of solid foods. So I didn't need to eat solid food anymore. So I was out there starving wouldn't affect.
Oh, okay, yeah, for Survivor.
Wow.
I was missing the Survivor. I was like, why would you stop eating solid food?
For Survivor. So with Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah. But
Incredible. Joe, you do a lot of advocacy work with sort of veterans, animal welfare, and just curious kind of what motivates you there. What are you passionate about?
well, I'm on the board of trustees at Pittsburgh Children's Hospital. So that's like my main charity. And I just love kids. I feel bad for kids that have to go through really difficult struggles that don't get to be kids.
Yeah.
They have to grow up too soon. And a lot of times, the kids are being taken care of, but, it's parents also that really have a hard time, and a lot of times can't be with kids while they're in the hospital. They have to be out working and making money to support. And that's really difficult. And I think that there's an amount of guilt that the parents feel about that. And the kids are alone, and so Pittsburgh Children's Hospital is like really amazing. They monitor hospitals all around the world at lowering infant mortality rates and, managing post-op care, because a lot of times like a surgery can be successful, but then in some third world country, like they'll lose kids post-op and can't target the signals or have like predictive measures. And so Pittsburgh Children's Hospital has created like carts, like computerized carts that actually help monitor and go back to a mainframe with American doctors that can kind of watch, and monitor for the signs that something's going sideways. And so, I just really, wanted to stay connected to my roots. And I love Pittsburgh. And like I said, I love kids. And so I do a lot of fundraising and advocacy, especially to raise money for parents to try to alleviate the financial pressure so that they can actually spend time with the kids and be there with them. And haven't been in a lot of things that are kid friendly, but when I am, I try to bring them back to the hospital, do fun things with the kids. Yeah. Sometimes they don't know who I am. And I'm like, your mom knows who I am. Mom's over there in the corner like,
yes, she does.
Dad wants to punch me in the face. Great.
But he can't reach.
I'm out of there too quick. Yeah, no. But no, it's so a lot of what I do has to do with them and bringing attention back to them. But yeah, like I adopted my little dog here who's still sleeping on my lap.
Yeah, man, it's like she's unconscious.
Yeah,
she's heard all these stories before.
She's like, wrap it up.
Yeah, let's go take a nap. Come on.
Joe, do you just on that note of like being so passionate about children, do you have children in your life who you get to be like a positive figure for them? Like maybe not parental, but just like a mentor.
Yeah, I mean, I have a nephew who, like I was a strong male figure for him in the early years of his life. And, you know, so, you know, I definitely took that seriously and was there for him and wanted to be there for him in every way that I could. I have two nieces. My brother has two girls, and, you know, they're super cute. And, you know, so I'm like the fun uncle, you know, with them, and, you know,
that's a good role.
Goofing around and trying to make them laugh all the time. And, you know, so yeah, I mean, and, you know, but obviously, like, you know, it's something that's definitely on the docket, you know, at some point. So, you know,
you mean to have kids?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet.
For sure. Yeah. It was never, that was never not on the table, you know, at every stage of life. That was always, you know, that was always something that was always talked about, always, you know, that was always on the forefront. You know, any serious relationship that I got into, it was always like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like first date talk, let's say, you know what I mean? But
like second or third.
It was one of the first conversations to have, which is like, are you someone that wants that? If you don't, then that's okay. You know, I just want to know what this is, because, you know, I've always wanted to be a father.
Yeah.
I have like big dad energy.
Yeah.
You know?
You do.
I think I have a lot to give in that department.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, I come from, in my family tree, there's a lot of survivors. And, you know, we're talking Armenian genocide survivors. We're talking, you know, African slaves who went through unspeakable difficulties. You know, I mean, the eradication of the Armenian people is absolutely insane, and like, for another conversation, but like, you know, they never gave up, you know, none of them. And, you know, to be sitting where I'm at right now on the shoulders of what my ancestors went through just to survive and not give up in the face of losing every single person that they loved, just to survive, so that their children, so that they could have a child that survived, that then survived long enough to have, you know, my mom and then me. And, you know, there's I just think that and in the meta, there's a real importance to that for me, to kind of carry on their legacy. And so, you know, let alone from the fact that, like, I really am looking forward to that chapter in life.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
That we didn't get into, we didn't have time, but your family history is insane. It's like someone needs to make a film about it. You need to make a film about it. It needs to happen.
I've had conversations for sure.
It's coming out in 2029. I think if I'm reading Joe well enough right now.
Probably before then. I've been trying to figure out the right way to tell that story, or tell all of those stories, and how to, or at least like kind of the first incarnation of all of that.
Yeah.
And so, before 2029 for sure. For sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a precious story. You have to find the right way to tell it, I guess.
Joe, do you want to just summarize for listeners what you're alluding to? Because you did an episode of Finding Your Roots, and
the show Finding Your Roots discovered that there was, you know, a paternity issue very nearby to me in my family tree. My grandfather was not my biological grandfather. It was another man. And through some work and reaching out and making my ancestry.com profile public, making my 23andMe profile public, then fishing. I started fishing to people who are remotely related by marriage or blood or distant on the family tree. Over the past 2 years, I've been getting bites and I've been getting information. I've been getting legal documents, and then lo and behold, like family members.
Wow.
And who have photos, who have evidence. And then because of the genetics, their proximity to me, we've been able to really say with 100% certainty who my grandfather was.
Wow.
That then blows open this entire lineage. And then on the other side, you know, I know that I'm Croatian, German, and Armenian on the mother's side. We never know who the German was. A lot of the Armenian information was lost to a genocide. And so the show Finding Your Roots then got a ping on the German side, and we wound up finding out who my great-grandfather was on the German side, who was stationed in Armenia, what became Turkey post World War I. He was stationed in this camp that my grandmother, who was a survivor of the genocide, who lost all of her children, her husband, her village, everyone, and was shot and left for dead, wound up in this camp and then impregnated by this German officer.
Wow.
They found out who he was, his name, his children, his lineage. I have ancestors that fought Napoleon. We can go all the way back to the 1300s in the Kingdom of Württemberg. Like, it just, all of a sudden, I went from having this much family tree to that.
Wow.
And so it's still in progress. And there, like I said, there are African slaves, one of which was brought over from Africa that joined the Continental Army and fought the British in the Revolution. It was like a war hero and granted a monument. And, it's just insanity that I had no idea that existed, that now I've got stacks of books this high and I'm reading and trying to devour all of this information and understand what I am, where, I never knew what I was. I just knew I didn't look like anybody in my family. And when you put me in a lineup with the cast of The Sopranos, I didn't really look as Italian as they did.
Yeah.
And so I'm all these other things. And, the host of the show, Henry Louis Gates Jr., turned to me at the end and just said, Joe, you are America.
Yeah, it is really incredible. You're so mixed.
Yeah. That is incredible. Yeah. We have a final question we ask every guest. Joe, if you could go back to your 12-year-old self, what would you do? What would you say?
Oh, man.
Stick to the plan.
What would I say at 12? I would say, do not feel bad about following the muse and do whatever you have to do to clear your space out to continue creating in that way. Do not feel bad about that. Like, you're a storyteller at heart. Just continue developing. Like, just go. That's what I would have said, because I think I was so torn at that age and felt so guilty about skipping my work to do it and, doing something I shouldn't have been doing that was going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
Come to find out that was actually, all that side questing was actually the main quest.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. That's so great.
I love that. Joe, you've been such a delight. What a storyteller.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We're so grateful.
You are a delight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can keep up with Joe Manganiello on Instagram at Joe Manganiello. We are so excited that you can now listen to Podcrushed ad-free on Amazon Music. In fact, you can listen to any episode of Podcrushed ad-free right now on Amazon Music with an Amazon Prime membership. When he went into like werewolf mode, I was like,
I know.
Whoa.
I know.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We have to use that.
I feel like his body changed. Like he got bigger and he got more wolfy.
He did. He got wolfy. Penn, you had a perfect chance to say, I wolf you, Joe.
Didn't occur to me. But that would have been great.
Opportunity.
Holy crap.
Perfect.
That would have been perfect.
Holy crap.
Well, we can put that on social media. We wolf Joe.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, that's the joke, Sophie.